Bob Surace. I'm the head coach here at Princeton University. I started out, my father was a head high school coach at Millville, New Jersey, Millville High School. He was the head football coach there for 25 years, head baseball coach for 20 years. And I grew up, as the bat boy, water boy, all the bus rides, loving sports. And as I was able to go to college and play here at Princeton, and you get to be a mature, hopefully mature student here, and you start thinking about what you want to do, this place is great because, whatever career choice you make, you strive to be the best at that career choice. And I wanted to go into coaching. It's what I love to do. I wanted to be able to wake up every morning passionate and loving my job. And, I've just been very fortunate with all the steps along the way, starting at Springfield College to eventually becoming a head football coach at a Division III school called Western Connecticut State University, and then on to the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals prior to coming here. I was there at Cincinnati for 8 years. I've been very fortunate. I laughed. 4 of my college teammates were coaches in the NFL the same time I was, and I don't know if another program in the country could say that. Princeton, and I still have, when I was in Cincinnati, I had the painting, the original game, Princeton versus Rutgers. And when I got the job here, my 4-year-old son at the time, it's in the coach's office here at Princeton, the head coach's office, said, we have that painting too. And, we were the start of football. We have 28 national titles. Now, many of those national titles, I believe the last one was in 1951. But there was a time period when the Ivy League and Princeton University specifically were at the center of college football. As we've, made the decisions not to have scholarship football, but remain with elite players, elite school, and do things hopefully the right way. I have the good fortune to coach the top students in the country that just happen to be great, highly talented football players. Well, I do think college football specifically, and obviously back in 1869, there were different rules and different sets of rules. But there's been time periods, whether it's technological advances, equipment advances, schematic advances. But the bottom line is, fundamentally, it comes down to blocking, tackling, executing. Those things haven't changed. They haven't changed, throughout history of football. The championship and great teams do the fundamental things right, don't turn the ball over, and convert third downs and do things well. In terms of philosophy, we say from day one, we're going to be fast and physical. And I try to keep things, where guys can keep up and understand real easily. We want guys to have 4 characteristics. We want them smart, tough, disciplined, and team-oriented. And every championship team I played on, including at Princeton, every championship team I've coached, teams in the NFL that have been to the playoffs had those qualities. I quote Marvin Lewis all the time. He always said, I see better than I hear. Dick LeBeau, to defend everything is defend nothing. And I've had some great influences that way. I just recently read a book by one of my great mentors at Cincinnati, associate head coach, Paul Alexander, called Perform. Just this summer, and I kind of went back to the basics and read some great books. I read one called Win. I read one called Mindset, and I thought they were great books, motivational books. And when you coach at Princeton and you stand in front of 100 guys who I thought I was smart when I graduated in 1990, these guys are all smarter than me. I need to go up there and I need to make sure I'm giving them things that are going to help them be successful, whether they're managing directors at Citigroup, they're partners in law firms, they're governors, they're whatever they decide to do, that I can help them a little bit along the way so they can have success. Struck me because as I was getting recruited, and I'm a positive recruiter, I'm lucky to be at a place where you never have to negative recruit. But 25 years ago, when I was being recruited, people kept saying, "Oh, you're not going to fit in. You're a coach's son," all those things. And I came on campus with a group of guys that I just loved. They were great people, smart people, tough football players, students, driven guys. I use the term all the time, obsessive competitive. These guys love to compete, and still the guys I coach today are going to have that same mindset. And you walk around the campus, and I made some great visits to some great colleges. There wasn't a campus that matched Princeton in terms of the facilities, in terms of the beauty, in terms of the academic rank, the branding of the school, and football tradition. And I left there. It was real easy on my drive home telling my dad, this is where I want to go. Well, I believe it's real important that I can share real experiences, whether it's a player of mine who just today is interviewing at Citigroup for a job, and we have 5 guys there that played with me who are somewhere in that building, and just giving them a heads up, hey, when so-and-so player comes by, just make sure you say hi to them. And nobody's going to get a job because you played football at an Ivy League school or a brand school, but it does help if you're at a school like Princeton and you're a driven, competitive athlete and you're an intelligent young man. It helps you get in the door. And from there, we got to prepare him to get the job. And everywhere I go, it's important to me. It's extremely important to me. My experience here was the absolute best. Every day I was here, I loved being at Princeton. And I want to bring that same experience to the guys I played with. And for me, it culminated in an Ivy League title. I want that same thing to happen with these guys, to be part of their experience at Princeton. Our athletic director, Gary Walters, branded the phrase education through athletics, and I am, right up there with him. I believe that. It's part of our culture here at all of our teams, and to me, I stand up there every day as a teacher, as a coach, as a motivator, hopefully inspiring them to be better than they would if I wasn't standing in that room. In every single aspect of their life, whether it's social, whether it's football, whether it's academics. And I hope we're out there and we're educating these guys the best way possible, because it's so important that they leave here ready to go on after they're done their football careers, whether it be the NFL or whatever that is, that they're getting a division. I don't want to shortchange them. There's nothing I hope we do that the best programs in the country do in terms of our weight training, our conditioning, our scheme, our developing them as players. The bonus is, and the numbers prove it, we have all the payscale.coms, that Princeton does the best job in the country in terms of success after college. And hopefully we play a role and a part in their success. Typical day of a coach, and it doesn't really change much wherever you are. In the NFL level, you're not recruiting in terms of that, but a typical day in season, our coaching staff, we're here early in the morning. I'm typically here around 6 a.m., and I will do recruiting up until time we have a staff meeting, which will typically be about 8 a.m. Certain days our team will meet in the morning prior to classes starting. And then we'll go throughout the day segmenting our time in season. Part of it's going to be spent on recruiting, part of it's going to be spent on scheme, part of it's going to be spent on all the preparation things that we have to have, and part of it's going to be spent on what we're doing exactly in practice and being as detailed as possible. And then Princeton's great in the fact that we have a couple hours a day, 3 hours from 4:30 to 7:30 where there's no classes. So our players never have to be in that situation where the coach picks their classes or they don't choose classes because they don't want to miss practice. So from 4:30 to 7:30, we'll have a 2-hour practice in that time frame. And then at nighttime, we'll watch the practice, evaluate what happened, and then probably from about 9:30 to 11 o'clock at night, we'll be spent back again on recruiting, and very often the recruits that we're a nationally recruited school that are from a different time zone. One of the first chapter organizations with uplifting athletes, to me it's a great organization. I believe Penn State was the founding member, and we followed shortly thereafter. It allows our players to raise money for rare diseases. We had a player last year, Jordan Culbreth, who they've filmed a documentary on called Running Through. And Jordan was a conference preseason player of the year who had aplastic anemia, diagnosed during the season when he wasn't performing well, and they took his blood and had can be a life-threatening disease. Jordan not only overcame the life-threatening part, but ended up coming in my office and let me know that there's a chance he's going to be able to play. And he played for us last year and won the award, the Rare Disease Award winner nationally. And our team has really raised awareness with that disease, as have probably another dozen schools. And it's great to be a part of something that's bigger than just wins and losses and everything else. Well, anytime you're at the early stages of building a program, the exciting thing is the actual process. It's building it, doing things the right way, getting our weight room in order, getting our recruiting in order, getting our players to execute seeing players develop. And we're seeing that. We have a number of returning players that are upperclassmen that have made a phenomenal strides in the 18 months that I've been head coach. And I'm excited to see it in action, to see these guys. We have as competitive a schedule. The Ivy League is going to have one of the most competitive years in their history. All 8 teams return the quarterback, the multiple All-Ivy returners from these different teams. And we play a Lehigh team to open up that won an NCAA playoff game last year. We play a Bucknell team like us that's building a program. Their head football coach spent a large part of his coaching career at Princeton, did an excellent job with the offensive line there. And we play a scholarship school in Hampton that's a perennial contender and sends guys to the NFL year in, year out. So we play as tough a schedule as there is. We're excited to compete against that schedule and see our guys that we've spent the last, since the season ended, the last 9 months getting ready for this season and getting them prepared to play the schedule. When you come into a job and you're looking at the previous roster and, you're meeting with the coaches you retain and not retain and talking about personnel, and the biggest holes, some of the biggest holes are kicker and punter, and to have the year Pat Jacob had, consistently making field goals, making extra points, improving his kickoff length by 15 yards. We put an emphasis on special teams, and he just had a terrific year and, has been working hard and even increasing his leg strength and accuracy. And Joe Cloud, we had a situation where we had 2 punters, one who had the 3rd largest gross in the league, and then had an injury. They were sharing time, and Joe, who led the league in gross punt, and Joe just did a phenomenal job. And for us, a team that's building a program, we got to do all the little things right. And the biggest way for us to make a jump is special teams. And getting all the guys to cover kicks, to, return punts, to do those things. That's an important part of what we are and what we do. And to have 2 specialists that are amongst the tops in the country, that's a good way to go into the season. Yeah, well, again, this is Bob Surace. I'm the head football coach at Princeton University, and I am so excited. I mean, I've been here 18 months and seeing this program, seeing us develop in the weight room, see us develop on the field, how we performed in the spring, and getting ready for a great training camp that'll hopefully be, serve as a force as we head into an extremely competitive schedule and seeing our team make the strides to compete in a great league. I'm excited to be a part of that and to lead that and be a part of a wonderful group of coaches and players.